Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fandom Minutes. I'm Mike.
And I'm Matt.
And today, we're going to be talking about paranormal investigation. Specifically, our group. So, Matt, you want to go ahead and tell them what we're doing here and kind of give them a rundown of what paranormal investigation is?
Yeah, so we started a group, me and Mike here, all the way back in 2008. And it's changed a lot over the years. A lot of things have changed. I'll kind of go into that. I've got a little montage I'm going to show you guys that I've put together, clips throughout the years. But if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what ghost hunting is, here's a little 101 on ghost hunting. So I'm sure you guys all know what a ghost is. It's a dead person that hasn't passed on into the next life and is haunting a location. It might be haunting a person, it might be an Indian burial ground, something like that. But either way, it's something is going on that's not supposed to be going on. So this energy or this person is left behind, and they're trying to communicate with the outside world. And so ghost hunters or paranormal investigators go to these locations and try to collect evidence proving either yes, it is haunted, or no, it is not haunted, using scientific method and equipment that will pick up and read different types of data at the location to better assess whether or not this place is actually haunted. They also look into cryptids, which are monsters such as Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Yetis, Wendigos from the Native Americans, things like that. And they also sometimes look into aliens as well as UFO phenomenon.
Nice. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go into a little game of 20 questions here. And we're going to ask some questions that so you recently did a live Q&A
Yes.
on Facebook for your PHI group, right?
Yes, so it was my first live video. I've been seeing a lot of people doing live videos, and I thought, it'd be kind of fun to do a little Q&A, kind of get some feedback from viewers, kind of answer some questions, and if they did have a haunting, maybe I could help them out even virtually through the camera, maybe answer some of their questions, put them at ease a little bit, and I just thought it would be a good idea to kind of do a live show, and I only planned on doing like one, just one day kind of thing. But I already had a person ask, are you going to keep doing these? Like, how many of you going to do? And so I might do some every so often. I don't know if I want to do it every single week, but maybe every other week or once a month or something, I might do a live show where I just talk to people, about their paranormal experiences, if they've got problems, things like that.
Nice. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to throw out some questions here and just have you do a quick answer on them.
Sounds good.
So just jump right into it. First question we have is, what's the strangest thing you have ever had happen during an investigation?
There's been a lot of weird things, I'll give you that. Probably the weirdest, though, was we're at this old 1700s house. It was partially burned down. There's walls missing. I mean, it's a small, like 300-foot house, tiny, old, obviously. And there's a wall missing, and we're standing in what used to be probably the kitchen or dining room area. It's hard to tell. And there's a grave on the site where a little girl died in the fire, and she was buried there. It was creepy. Well, anyways, we're out. It's about a half a mile into the woods, and we hear walking around the outside of the house like something was stalking us. So we're thinking it's an animal, but we can't see any lights, like any eyes, reflecting our flashlights. And so we don't see any eyes. We don't see anything. We just hear the walking like it's watching us back and forth. And that went on for probably about 10 minutes. And then it starts getting closer. So we decided, all of us, to turn off our lights. We brought a baseball bat for protection because we're out in the woods and you never know what could happen. And so we turn off all our lights. We hear it walk all the way up to an open doorway. And we all turn our flashlights on at once. Like, it was there. You could hear it right at the doorway. We all turn our flashlights on at once, and there's nothing there. So we all, a lot of my team ended up getting freaked out, obviously. And they're like, this isn't right. We need to leave. Because it did have a very kind of bad presence. So we ended up running, literally sprinting out of there. I think it was a bit excessive, but we did. And you could hear whatever it was kind of following us from behind, and it was pretty messed up.
Okay. It's pretty creepy. Next question says, what was your first investigation?
So my very first investigation was at my parents' house, actually. I grew up in it was kind of a haunted house. It's a house that's not always haunted. So the haunting kind of comes and goes, and it's not always the same haunting. Like the same person. So I don't think the house is haunted. I think it might be the land. I think it's kind of like where the veil is thinner, and so ghosts kind of come and go. I feel like there. It's really weird because a lot of stuff, nothing will happen for long periods of time, and then all of a sudden a bunch of stuff will happen, and then a long period of time nothing will happen. Anyways, that was our first investigation. When I was a child, I would wake up to hearing footsteps going up and down the hallway and around the house, banging noises in rooms, kind of poltergeist activity. I saw a shadow man there once. I don't know if you know what a shadow man is, but if you don't, it is a completely solid silhouette of a person, usually a male. Sometimes they have a hat. They're anywhere from 6 feet to 7 feet tall, but you don't really see any features. It's just black. And I saw one walking through a doorway at my house once. And that was my first investigation.
Interesting. What are your views on cryptids like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and those two specifically?
Okay. Well, on cryptids, I've never seen one. I would like to see one, but I've never actually seen one. So I can't say for 100% sure, that I've seen one with my own eyes, and I know for a fact that it's real. So, but there's so much evidence out there that kind of makes you wonder. We've got plaster cast, we have hair, we have DNA, we have all kinds of stuff from Bigfoot. The main theory that I'm seeing is that Bigfoot was around the same time as the cavemen, and as we evolved faster than it did, we kind of drove it into the underground, into the cave systems, and that they're still around. There's been families of Bigfoot seen, Sasquatch. So not just one male. It's not just one male Bigfoot walking around. There's female Bigfoots and baby Sasquatch as well. And the theory is now that they live out in caves. And so, yes, I do kind of tend to believe that, yes, there is possible Sasquatch, kind of a missing link, as it were, out there. When it comes to Loch Ness Monsters, there's plenty of theories. The thing that gets most people is most of the sightings of Loch Ness Monster look the same, but some of them don't. And so that kind of makes it weird because not all the sightings look exactly the same. So there's a theory that it is either a ghost of a monster, like a prehistoric dinosaur, or the other theory is that there's a portal in the lake, possibly, that goes back to time. So like a time slip where dinosaurs can enter in and out of the lake from their previous prehistoric time into nowadays time and then leave again. And that's why you don't see it all the time, is because it only passes through that every so often. So that's one theory on the Loch Ness Monster. They haven't ever really found anything concrete on Loch Ness Monster because they've swept the whole entire loch and didn't see it. And so it's really weird because it's not always there. So it's hard to say on that one.
Interesting. What about Slenderman?
Okay, Slenderman. Gotta love Slenderman. Creepypasta. Gotta love it. So Slenderman started out as a story, and as far as I can tell, is still just that, a story. A little bit more into it. The Jews believe in what's called totems or golems, and what that is the Jewish people would create a mud man, short, tall, whatever, and they would pray to it and bring it kind of to life through the power of their religion and whatnot, and through God. They would bring this golem to life by their beliefs. So they believed it was alive, and it became alive. So kind of with Slenderman there, you got to be careful, because if you go with the totems or the golems, it's possible that Slenderman might become alive, even though he originally was not. So you got to be careful not to think if millions of people believe in Slenderman, maybe mind over matter might take effect, and it could happen. But as of right now, I don't think that Slenderman exists. There is, however, though, a crime case that you guys can look up where two girls stabbed their friend in the name of Slenderman, and they're both serving time in jail. I recommend looking up the Slenderman case.
All right. Next question is, what are ghosts? Are they good or bad? And what is the reason for being here?
So ghosts can be both good or bad. They're not necessarily one or the other. What I believe ghosts are energy. It's leftover energy from a human. So you could say a soul. There's different dimensions. So there's, according to the pseudoscience and the quantum realms, there is the first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, which is what we live in, and then fourth, and so on. So we actually can only see about 10% of the visible spectrum. So the other 90% of the visible spectrum we can't even see. So it's hard to say whether ghosts are really out there, but I know personally that I've experienced a lot of different things. I've gotten EVP, which stands for electronic voice phenomenon, which is recordings of vocals or breathing or different things like that you could not hear with your human ears, or that no one else said that was around you, but it's believed to be the ghost. So yes, I do believe that it's just leftover energy that's in a slightly higher dimension than ours. I think that they're all around at all times. I don't necessarily think that there's only certain places that ghosts are. I think they're just kind of phase in and out of our world.
Okay. So we got one more question that pertains to, knowledge of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then we'll get into questions more closely pertaining to exactly what your part is in all of this.
Okay.
So what are some local legends in your area, and what are they known for?
Okay, so the first one, obviously, is the Hornet Spook Light, which is outside of Joplin, Missouri. Been there a lot, looked into that. It's kind of like this light that appears on the road. One of the legends is that it's an Indian with a lantern. So that's obviously the main one that everyone knows about. There's what's called Little People's Bridge, where it's said that little fairies or little kids that are ghosts will come and eat candy that you leave. So you'll leave a candy in a wrapper, and they'll come and eat the candy and leave the wrapper. Or they'll put handprints on your car if you drive past slowly at night. There's also the Hoffman Mansion, which is where supposedly some kids were killed, and it's supposed to be haunted. It was burned down, though, but the grounds are said to still be haunted. There's the Devil's Hollow and Lover's Leap as well.
Okay. So we'll move on into things more pertaining to the actual art of paranormal investigation.
Okay.
First off, how many people do you recommend for a group or for a particular investigation? So we'll start there.
I would say anywhere from 1 to 6. Because one person can do it, but it's going to be a lot harder for them because it's hard to be in multiple places at once. Because you need people to monitor, you need people to do audio, EMF, things like that. So it's better to have a team if at all possible. I wouldn't go more than 6 people because you can split into groups of 3, or you have groups of 2, things like that. But I wouldn't go probably more than 6 people because evidence can be convoluted by too much talking or things like that. I would recommend about 6 people because if you get too many people, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. Tool-wise, really, to get started, you only need, I'd say 3 things. I would recommend a video camera, in which you could use your phone. Most phones now have cameras on them. So I recommend a video camera, one that has fairly good quality. Then I recommend an audio recorder to capture EVPs or ghost talking. And then I also recommend an EMF recorder or an EMF detector, which is an electromagnetic field, and it's believed that ghosts release EMF whenever they're near. And so it's a good way to kind of track if there is, in fact, anything around you. So I recommend an EMF detector, a video camera, and an audio recorder, kind of just starting out.
Okay.
When it comes to kind of pro tips when starting a group or just going out yourself, I always recommend don't do it just for fun. If you're wanting to actually submit data and show, that I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. So if you're wanting to become a paranormal investigator, I suggest you do it not drunk. Don't go to the place drunk. Don't just do it for fun. Actually be serious about it, because there's a lot of people out there that just make kind of a mockery of this field. And so I suggest if you're going to get into it, please be serious about it. But it doesn't take thousands of dollars to be a paranormal investigator. Do your research, buy some books, go online, really learn before you actually go to a location. Kind of get some background information. And when you do go to a location, make sure you know about the location. Learn about its history, the lore of the location. Don't start out with something super deep like a demonic possession or a really bad haunted house or, where people are getting hurt. Don't start with that. Start with something that is maybe just a ghost light on a road or something that's easy to access. A lot of people, when you're first starting out, don't want you in their home because you're not very experienced. So I recommend kind of going to some places that you can just access anytime. So public places that might be haunted, like maybe you have a haunted park in your town or something like that. I recommend going to places like that to kind of get a feel for it before you really dive into the whole field.
Okay. All right. So moving on from that, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your group? Tell us your origin story. Tell us how you started the road to where you're at now.
Okay, well, some of that, Mike. You were a part of this whole road to where we are now. So we started out in 2008, you and me. We created the OCPRI, which was the Ottawa County Paranormal Researchers and Investigators. And we kind of scrapped that name because we didn't want it to just be the Ottawa County area. We wanted to be able to branch out if need be. And we didn't want it to seem like we were stuck in one area. So we scrapped that one. And we created a team under the name of Pillars with 1 L. And it was an acronym that you came up with, Mike, and it was Paranormal Investigators of Legends and Researchers of the Supernatural. Great acronym. And a long acronym, but a good one. So we started out with that, and we researched and worked with hauntings from 2008 till 2010. And then me and Mike here, we ended up kind of having a falling out around 2010 due to differences. And so I asked him at the time, I said, we both created this together. Do you want to keep the Pillars name? And he said, yeah, I want to keep doing ghost hunting and keep the Pillars name. And I said, okay. So at that time I realized if I want to keep doing this, I'm going to have to build me a new team. And I'm going to have to come up with a new name. So between 2010 and 2012, so leading up to 2012, I didn't really do a whole lot of ghost hunting. I did some just personal stuff, but I never really formed a new team. And well, up in Branson, I had a friend that was really wanting to get into ghost hunting, and he convinced me to kind of, start a new team up with him. And so we started doing some ghost hunting in Branson. And on January 1st, 2012, at midnight, so the second 2012 started, we did our very first investigation at a haunted log cabin church that supposedly someone hung themselves at. And we got some weird stuff. You can actually check out that investigation on YouTube at Pale Horse Paranormal. But I didn't come up with the name right then. It was about a week later. I was at work writing out names and trying to think of what I wanted to name it. Well, I thought of the fact that, how the apocalypse, when the apocalypse happens in the Bible, you've got the archangel of death coming down on his pale horse. And so the pale horse kind of is a symbology for death, which is part of what we work with is hauntings and death. And so I went with pale horse, and then I added investigations to it. So it ended up becoming PHI, which is Pale Horse Investigations. And that's kind of how we got our start, and we've been ghost hunting since 2008.
Nice. So, with all that being said, I did start prior to that with my dad.
Yes.
We used to do a lot of different little things with spook light and stuff like that. We didn't really branch out too far. At least I didn't. He did his own thing. But it wasn't until we started Pillars or right before that we really started getting deep into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really all we got for questions. People seem to be pretty receptive to the live Q&A. They seem to be interested in it and stuff. So might be something to look forward to doing somewhere down the road again. And hopefully get out there and get some more investigations going. And
I agree.
See where that takes you. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before this is over with? You got any other tips? Any other last minute advice for people?
Last minute advice: don't rush into it. Like I said, do your research. It is a lot of fun. It can be very scary, but you got to play it safe. Make sure you don't trespass. Don't do things like that. But we do have some fun stuff coming up on Pale Horse Investigations. We're on our YouTube page. We're uploading old case files from Pillars that never got to see the light of day. So we're doing kind of like these, not really cold case files, but kind of just lost tapes almost. We're doing a series of those that will be uploaded here and there while we're waiting to do a new investigation. We're currently not doing any investigations, hopefully soon, but due to the coronavirus and everything being kind of closed down and not wanting to have a large group of people or going to a house because any of us could be infected. We don't want to go to someone's house, to a client's house, and get them infected, or the client getting us and our team infected. So we got to be careful still at the moment. I feel like I really am looking forward to a new investigation. I want to get back out there. But with that being said, my wife and I actually went out today, and there's going to be a new little segment coming up. We went on a little adventure. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it yet, but there's an app called Randonautica, which is a quantum generator used at a college, and the app creates random points out of your area, and it takes you to a random location, and supposedly weird stuff is supposed to happen at these random locations. And so we went on this little adventure today. The people that do these are called randonauts. I'm not sure why. But we actually went out and went to some of these random locations that it generated for us. And we're going to have a video coming up pretty soon of our little adventure. And you guys can check that out on YouTube at Pale Horse Paranormal. As well as you can come find us on Facebook at Pale Horse Investigations. And my last shameless plug here is we have now created a Patreon page, which we hope to do some more fun little events for people that do help donate to our page. And we've also created a GoFundMe page to help get better and new equipment, such as drones, a professional camera, some more audio recording, and some more cameras. So we've also created a GoFundMe page that you can look for Pale Horse Investigations. You can also find the link on our Facebook page.
We'll throw the links up somewhere here ish.
And in the description below as well.
So you guys can check them out. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Fandom Minutes. Be sure to join us next week when we have a special random game episode for you. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to see, and we'll make it happen. Matt, you got any last words?
No, I'm looking forward to this new random game we're going to have next week.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be really weird and probably fun and exciting, so I hope you guys look forward to that. I hope you guys like this last episode, and we'll see you guys next week. Laters.
Have a good one.